so here we are with Guest Spotlight, and our guest, typically I would introduce him by his first and last name, but we're just going to go ahead and call him Brian. Brian is one of the graders at CAS. So I don't want you guys to have his last name because I don't want anybody to not like a grade and show up at his front door. So, Brian, welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys. Glad to be here.
I like you said his name, Brian, like it was hypothetical, like fake.
Yeah.
Like Brian's actually his name. Brian's actually his name.
That's my stage name.
Exactly. Brian. When he's on Jimmy Kimmel, he goes by Brian, hyphenated Brian. Yeah. So, but Brian, it was sort of a great surprise. Some of you folks know that I actually spent a little bit of time in Florida over the summer, and the second
No one
day
knows
there,
that, Chris. No one knows that.
Yeah, a lot of the cool people do.
Yeah.
But and the second day there, this guy
I missed that
walking
on.
in.
I missed that on TMZ. Sorry.
Really?
Right.
I mean,
It's like some of you guys would know that I spent time in Florida. Like
I don't watch
everyone's
TMZ,
keeping
Chris.
up.
All right.
Everyone's keeping up on-
we have 12 customers and 3 of them, so at least 25% of the people know that I was down there. Anyhow, so Brian comes in, and Lee, who is one of our other graders, is like, this guy just came in with a resume that he worked at PSA and Beckett, and he wants to come work for us. So it's like, wait, what? So Brian was like one of the really wonderful, pleasant surprises, and he's been an incredible member of the team. And for those of you who don't know, we want to welcome him and have some questions for him regarding his history and current career path with CAS. So, Brian, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm ready for some questions. Bring it on, Chris. Bring it on.
I'll give a little perspective on my first meeting with Brian too. So I saw the resume and called him. Fortunately, I don't get to hobnob down in Florida as often as Chris does, so unfortunately didn't spend a lot of time with Brian, but read his resume and spoke to him on the phone, and instantly was like, this is someone that needs to be a part of it. Just well-spoken, into what we're doing, like perfect combination, perfect employee, like perfect part of the team. So been very happy, and he's done tremendous stuff since he's been there. So really appreciate all that.
And he's a customer, so obviously he likes us a little bit. So
Yeah, just a little bit.
Well, you can't complain about the grades at this point in time because you're just complaining about yourself.
I don't know. Lee's a little harsh. I was going to say, nah, just joking. Yeah, I love the cases. I mean, they're just artwork. It really is. There's nothing other to say about them other than they're just pieces of art.
Absolutely. That's a great way to describe it.
Yep.
So you've worked for PSA and for Beckett. At what point in time in your life did you just kind of wake up and say, man, I need to start grading? Like what brought you to that?
I mean, I've always been a collector of cards and toys, and I lived out in California, and PSA was right next door to me. So I went and applied and got a customer service job, and then just knew I have major OCD. So I already knew, looking at my own stuff, what it would grade out. I mean, this is early on in grading. 2004 is when I first started. And just literally within a couple of months, they noticed that I could answer questions that other customer service people couldn't answer. And so I went ahead and took the graders test, and they said I passed with flying colors, and the rest is history. Worked there for 4 years, and got to travel around and do on-site grading, and learned a lot from PSA. But I will say Beckett, those guys they're amazing. The stuff that I learned at Beckett was just incredible.
Next level.
Yeah,
well,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Chris.
No, not to really interrupt you, but like grading tests. I don't think I've ever heard of a grading test. What on earth is that?
Yeah, both PSA and Beckett have grading tests. So they'll have, 20, 30 cards, and some of them are trimmed, some of them are recolored, some of them are just really damaged, some of them are nothing's done at all, and you just have to grade them. So, you have to score high. They've already been pre-graded by the senior graders at each company. And so you either pass or you don't. And so it's nervous time, especially if you haven't been through one, because, there's trick cards in there. You've got to find those trim cards, and trimming is one of the most difficult things to locate on a card alteration. So that is something that, unless you've seen it, it's hard to detect. I mean, it really is. You can measure a card. Sometimes even from the factory, they're short. Doesn't mean they're trimmed. So there's very telltale signs of trimming. And it's just something with experience that you learn. But when you go into a grader's test and you haven't been looking at these cards consistently, because, you know, at PSA, we're grading 400 cards a day. Beckett was about 300 a day with
That's
the
per
subgrades.
person per day, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
So the subgrades do slow you down a lot. PSA just has the single grade. But other than that, I mean, once you get the experience, once you work in it, you get a hang of what you're looking for. You can see the trimming clear as day. I mean, you could just go, oh, this card's trimmed. It's definitely cut.
What were the numbers you said? 300 to 400 a day?
PSA is 400 and Beckett is 300.
Wow. So that's
it's a lot.
30, 40 an hour. Yeah. That's a lot. That's a lot.
Are you using like any instruments or what do you use anything to like look for the trimming? Is it the naked eye or do you use like microscopes or
no, a loop? I mean, we had microscopes, but not for trimming. The loop is the main tool that we'd use for
Loops?
trimming. Obviously, yeah, like a jeweler's loop. You want to measure the card as well. You want to make sure it measures up. But like I said, it can come short from a factory, so that doesn't necessarily automatically say it's trimmed if it's short. But other than that, there's telltale signs. I don't really want to give away a lot of the secrets because those trimmers, they're getting high tech. I mean, I think there was a guy that bought or stole the actual factory blades from Tops that was cutting their cards. So they go to, you know, crazy extent to trim cards, and
some Toy Tony stuff right there.
Yeah, it's scary. I mean, it is. You take a card that's got a bent corner or a damaged edge, and you can or even they'll trim to make the centering better. It's happened. They do all kinds of things just to get the cards in a higher grade. And I mean, we've gotten to the point where you'll see like cards that have serial numbers, and that serial card or that serial number is in our system now, or in Beckett's system, PSA system, and they'll be able to say, well, this card was graded a 8, and now all of a sudden it's sent back to us and it looks like a 10. Red flag number 1, you know. So, you know, the grading companies are getting a lot smarter about detecting it, but just the experience. I mean, some of those guys at PSA, there were some guys that started at the very beginning, and Beckett, obviously, they've got a lot of experience there too. So both companies are pretty good at spotting all detecting all the trim cards, the alterations.
Well, fun fact: the very first card ever done by PSA was trimmed, right?
Yeah, I mean, they've had some throughout the years. It's obviously trimming is a difficult thing, so it's very complicated. But I mean, even fake cards have gotten through. I mean, when you're doing that amount of cards per day, per hour, you're going to have some mistakes. We're all human, so it happens. And
grading companies don't make mistakes.
I'm sorry?
Grading companies don't make mistakes.
No, we never make mistakes.
Yeah.
Well, I will say this. So while I was down there, you know, Brian was looking at some modern stuff, the vintage collection Star Wars stuff, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to reject this one. It's got ink touch up." And you know, from there's really no good reason to ink touch up a modern figure, you know. And so really, you say, okay, well, probably not a good reason to do it. But he showed me. He said, you know, you can see bleed through from the edge. Clear as day, you could. But then we actually, you know, looking at it a little bit closer, you tipped it up, and there was actually an ink stamp on there. It's like a serial number that Hasbro must put on for some sort of reason that kind of bled through. It kind of to let you know that the kind of eye that Brian has, that has kind of transferred over to CAS. I was like, holy crap, you know, you can tell really quick that, you know, Brian sort of had an eye for it just right off the bat.
Yeah, it's definitely, you can transfer the two grading cards, grading toys. It's a lot of similar things that you look for. There's a lot of alterations. Obviously, you know, price stickers aren't on cards, but that's still, there's a lot of hiding going on in cards. You know, they try and hide scratches, or people will erase autographs, things like that. So it's all there. We've seen it all. So once you get that eye for it, your eye goes straight to those things that stand out. It's just a red flag. And like you said, sometimes it really is just a harmless thing, like a stamp. but you gotta be sure you're checking those because everyone's trying to get a higher grade. So
Yeah.
I want to make sure we grade it accurately.
It'd be interesting to kind of, and I'm probably stealing some of Chris's thunder, which makes me very happy. But
Yay.
to dig into that, I think that's probably people knowing your background. That's probably one of the more interesting questions I think could be asked of you is, so how is it different, right? There's a lot of similarities between the grading, but what was some of the adjustment that you had to go through from grading cards to grading toys that you have a lot more going on with them, and maybe that's one of the things.
Yeah, one of the things that I think stood out to me is the reproduction weapons.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, you have fake cards, you know what to look for. But with weapons, I mean, it's plastic, so people can do some pretty good jobs in reproducing these weapons. So that's been one of the things that stood out to me as far as being a little more difficult in the toy grading as opposed to card grading. Because with card grading, you know, you have pixelation that you can look for on the cards and stock feel and things like that. But so it was an adjustment to look at the reproduction weapons. So that would be the one big thing that stood out to me as a difference. But
Well,
other
one
than that,
thing-
I mean, cardboard is cardboard, so it's
Right.
it's pretty transferable as far as it's just like looking at a big card. So I'm looking at the edges, the corners, the surface, seeing if there's print defects, you know, things like that. Obviously, you add a bubble and a toy, but
Right. Well, that's what I was going to say. When you start adding the different elements, you
Yeah.
know, the bubble and the plastic figure, and I guess like a box item would be very similar to a card as well. It's just lots of different sides.
Except
Yeah.
the crease weighs way differently on a
Yeah.
box item than it would a
Right.
card, right?
yeah, I mean, because the card is 2.5 by 3.5 for most standard cards, so you're looking at a small surface. So a crease is going to stand out, and it's going to drop automatically down. You know, to it could go as far as a 4 or 5 grade, depending on how bad the crease is. You can go even further if you know the card's completely creased in half. But yeah, it's a different. You're looking at that was one thing that Lee did really help me with. He's like, you got to understand you're looking at a bigger card, so give it a little bit more leeway because that crease isn't as big on the say the Star Wars card back as it is on a card. So
Right.
it shouldn't weight it down as much, which I understand. It's definitely you got to look at the whole picture of what size of the item we're looking at.
Well, and a card is a finished product, whereas the packaging for a toy is not. You know, so realistically, you're dealing with almost like a wax pack and the card on the inside all in one package in some
Exactly.
respect.
Yeah, that is true. And I mean, there's things like in grading cards that we don't necessarily do, like, you know, patch cards. We don't actually, if the patch has stitching that's gone, that's not going to be lower grade because the stitching is messed up. That's just part of the patch. So it's different because, like you're saying, you've got the actual product inside the bubble that we also have to grade and make sure that that paint applications are good. There's not any kind of damage to the figure inside. So there's a lot of differences, but it still is grading. Basically, overall, everything is, looking the condition and figuring out what it looks like. So it's something I've got a lot of experience from cards, and I'm very appreciative of both PSA and Beckett for, opening my mind up to that. It's been interesting. It's been an interesting ride. I mean, my true passion is toys, so I've got a lot of experience with toys as far as a collector goes, and I've graded before. Unfortunately, I graded with AFA first. Sorry, guys, but
Oh, I didn't realize that.
yeah, a long time ago.
No, he wasn't. You didn't work there.
No.
Yeah, you were graded as.
Okay. You submitted.
I
Okay.
I submitted stuff. So
Yeah.
But and that
We
was
love
at the time
AFA.
when
There's still
CSA
nothing wrong
wasn't
with
even
that.
in
We love them.
existence, so it's not my
Right.
fault.
Right.
I don't know.
Oh, good. Yeah, we'll have to kill you now if you submit to that.
No.
Brian, what toys did you collect? What were you into, or still
Pretty
are?
much everything. I mean, I've gone. My biggest collection is Transformers. I've always been a Transformer nut. Other than that, I mean, when I was born in 1976, so right in the time of Star Wars, my brothers gave me a lot of those figures. So I had tons of Star Wars figures. G.I. Joe, Thundercats, Silverhawks, Food Fighters, Muscle, TMNT. Pretty much anything in the 80s I collected. And small gap once I graduated high school in the 90s where I didn't collect, but then got straight back into it. And I've been collecting ever since. Transformers again. I mean, that's just my go-to. I love Transformers, unfortunately.
I love Transformers too.
No, you don't.
I do.
You're holding my Transformer hostage.
Hold on, I got, let's just see, like, literally as we speak. I mean, I can just reach down and, I got a Sunstreaker, I have a Diaclone. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm a Transformers guy.
Chris, get up and show us more Transformers you have. Come on.
Really? Is that what you're trying to do?
Let's see more. Come on. Oh, I like seeing your armpit on camera. That's good.
See? That's hot, isn't it?
I've worked out the viewers.
I've worked out 3 times this year, so you guys are probably already getting to seal up the benefit of that. So,
nice.
Chris, nice CAS polo shirt. Very
See?
cool. I like that.
See?
I like
I
Represent.
got my CAS shirt on.
Oh no!
Look at that for the win, Brian. Love it.
Nice.
I love it.
That is awesome.
Perfect.
I wasn't lucky enough to get a polo shirt though. Just
No, these are for the executives. These are.
And Chris.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you really enjoy working for PAS, but that Beckett kind of was next level stuff. In what way?
So Beckett, it's amazing. They're like a tight family, and PSA was more. Everybody just did their job. They were great at it, but so Beckett, we would have weekly grader meetings, and for an hour we would talk about things we saw, about trends in the hobby, about cards that we're having trouble with, about suspected cards that are going to be coming in. Like, it just was everybody's knowledge in one meeting every week, and it was amazing. I mean, you could literally say, look, I saw this card that has been faked and everybody needs to see it. PSA didn't have that line of communication. I mean, everybody communicated, but it was more of a, I don't want to say like a conveyor belt, but it was kind of like that. Like, you get stuff done. Beckett was just, it was like a big family, and everybody helped everybody. It was, if you had a question on a grade, there was no problem with having a round table and everybody would put their thoughts in so we could get the grade right.
Really?
I just loved it. I mean, it was amazing. My son works there still, so that's how amazing
that's cool.
I got him in, and he's a senior grader over there now. So
he actually graded one of my cards, gave me a 7.5, but I forgive him.
Sorry about that, but hey, those gold frame cards come scratched up, and
well, so it was a redemption. It was a redemption, and it came like in a large top loader, and it came broken right from tops. So
Hold on, you know that he actually graded your?
I literally sent it to him. Yeah,
my son didn't grade it though. He just submitted it for you. Yeah,
okay.
They have a specific way of having cards graded for employee type of situations, though.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not a favoritism type of deal.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's crazy if you could send it to a specific grader. Like,
no, I just had him send it to Dason because that was his contact, and then Dason
Right.
submitted it the right way.
Right.
Yeah. I know who graded it. I can tell you that, but
Can I get his last name and where's the address?
Nope. No, that's a secret I'm gonna never reveal.
Yeah. No, it was actually really cool. In fact, let me see if I can go grab it really quick, because it's an oversized card, and Beckett was the only one that would grade it.
Can we mute Chris now that he's off camera?
He'll never know, unless he's still.
Yeah, he doesn't. He's not going to listen. He's going to start talking, and actually, he can still hear me. He can still hear me. Right? You can't mute his sound.
He's still talking though.
Oh, it's great. Chris's show and tell.
No, but this is something Brian helped me out with. So it's a
Oh.
5x7 card. It's great. It's signed by Jeremy Bullock and Tamora Morrison and Daniel Logan.
Cool.
But nobody else would do it, so it was kind of it's neat.
Wait, what's the overall grade? I thought you said 7.5, and it's an 8.
Oh, it's an 8. Yeah, it's an 8. So
Got 5 edges.
It got a 7 for edges. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but kind of a cool thing. So, yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, a little side note, they said that they're not going to be doing those cards anymore. The thickness and the size is just a pain to hold on.
Yeah, so they ended up almost like vacuum forming it. It's kind of put like on through like a little piece of plastic, so it's I would imagine it is kind of a challenge. And they sort of take more the CAS approach, right? Is try to do a little bit of everything, but sometimes it gets a little challenging.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean they're limited too because obviously they have to sonically weld their cases. It's not like us where we're actually putting the cases together. So
right,
yeah,
right.
a little bit more limited on what they can do.
Was that a custom case that they made for that, or
Yeah.
do they have like slabs for that size card?
They have slabs for that, yeah. But
Oh, okay.
I mean, they're sonic welders. They have to set up like a new horn to actually seal that size card. So it kind of becomes a task for them, but they just don't want to put a card that's going to move inside a holder so much. And that card in particular is very thick. So it's not like a standard size card. And so it's just, you got a big pocket in there, so it has a lot of ability to move, and they just don't want it being damaged in their holder. So yeah, they've done a lot of things. I mean, they can do comic books and photographs, they can case a lot of things, but just the thickness of that card, it's a hassle for them, and they don't want to damage somebody's cards in the process of it. They did a lot of like you said, it's almost like vacuum sealed inside that pocket. So they did a lot of work on that one.
All the cases are sonic welded, though, right? That's any size. Interesting. Yeah. It's weird that they never went to a different model or a different way of doing stuff. Maybe because it's easy.
Yeah.
It's easy and it's cost effective. I mean, their holders are. I like Beckett holders better than PSA holders. That's just my opinion, but they're still way, way, way cheaper than what we're used to in the toy grading industry. I mean, they can get their holders cents, and it's the sonic welding machines are expensive, but it's a very quick process. You put the card in the sleeve for Beckett, and then you put it in the holder and just push a button and you're sealing it. But for PSA, they put their card in. Some of them have sleeves, but not all of them do. But both of them have the same sonic welding machines. I mean, different manufacturers, but same style. So it's very easy and quick. Somebody can seal 200, 300 cards a day, one sealer. So as opposed to us building our cases and, like I said, making pieces of art, it's definitely something that is a slower process, but in the end looks beautiful.
I have a two-part question, switching gears. 2 parts. First part, card grading. What was your favorite or rarest or most interesting card you ever graded?
Answer all three. Yeah, answer all three to that one.
What's that?
I say answer all three to that because they may be different answers.
Right. Yeah, you can answer. Take the question as you want, and then I'd like to hear that also for toys too, since you've been at CAS. Like, what's the thing that you thought was coolest, rarest, whatever?
I'm a little bit. I have to say, I'm a hockey fan, so my favorite thing ever is a Gretzky rookie autograph. That was
cool.
One of the coolest things to see. I mean,
Tops or Peachy?
It's Peachy. I mean, come on, Tops. Who wants Tops? Yeah, just kidding. But yeah, the Gretzky rookie. I mean, I've always wanted to own one, and then to have it autographed. I mean, I got lucky enough to grow up in California, and when Gretzky was playing on the Kings, I got to go to training camp, and he literally knew my name because I got to see him so much, and he would sign anything I wanted. Maybe one of the nicest guys ever.
Wow,
I even have a card that he autographed twice. An 1990 Upper Deck card that has the front picture and the back picture. He signed it on the front and the back.
That's awesome.
Really cool, dude. I just never had the ability to get a Gretzky rookie back then, and so yeah.
They've never been cheap.
No, and they're super out of touch now. I mean, especially if you want to get one in a decent shape.
Yeah, 6 or above, you're talking, a lot of money.
A lot of money. As far as toys, I would say it's seeing a lot of the Diaclone Transformers come in. I mean, being a Transformer fan, just seeing a lot of that rare stuff is pretty cool. I've actually never owned one myself, so it's cool to actually see it in hand and, get to be amazed at it. And hopefully somebody's in love with it once they get it back in the case and it just looks as beautiful as what I can see these guys doing with the casing. So it comes out amazing every time.
You can probably answer my question. Do Diaclones ever come sealed, or the boxes?
Sealed as in like taped?
Yeah, tape sealed.
Don't believe so.
Yeah, mine doesn't look like it's taped. I'm not an expert on it, and I'm not. I bought mine because
See
it's
your armpit.
a Jeep.
See your armpit.
Yeah.
We didn't
I
see
think-
the armpit. Sorry.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think
yeah.
Bro's the one that started sealing the box Transformers.
Yeah. Yeah, I figure I'm a Jeep guy, so I bought Hound. So
Nice.
yeah, I love it. So what about did you ever grade anything cool and old like a Mantle rookie or a Honus Wagner or anything like that come through?
Well, I was with PSA when we had the Honus Wagner, so that actually came through. The one that there's all kinds of lawsuits over and all kinds of bad shadiness to it. They said
The
that
first one, the number one.
Yeah,
the
the
one
one
that
that
was
Gretzky and Bruce McNall, the Kings owner, owned at one point.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was there for that. Didn't actually grade it, but I got to hold it in my hand, which is kind of cool.
Holy cow!
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's incredible. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen so many cards, and the dollar amounts are just insane. I mean,
Yeah.
it's incredible how much the card market has come up and how valuable some of these cards are. It's just insane.
Especially the modern cards. I mean, here's LeBron James rookies that are like in the millions of dollars. Patrick Mahomes rookies that are in the millions of dollars.
Yeah.
In the same category as Mantles and things of that nature. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I always have a soft spot for some of the more vintage cards just because even though they weren't as limited as, say, some of those, LeBron James that are numbered out of 10, they're just special. I mean, the fact that they made it all these years and some of these people have really, really great cards that are in great condition, and just amazing to see that, it truly is a piece of history.
That's why I love seeing the early 20th century baseball cards, the T206s, all those are just unbelievable. It's just,
They are.
it's the Morphe auction, which I think, we talked about before. We talked about that before. Seeing some, Chris, you saw those there? Just.
Oh yeah, the Ty. Well, and I guess
there was a Cy Young, Ty Cobb.
Well, there was a 52 Topps brick, right? So there was
Right.
a brick of 8 1952 Topps packs
Wow.
that sold for, after the buyer's premium, like $870,000. And the rumor has it, I guess I'm not really into spreading rumors, but I will anyways. But rumor has it is the guy that owns PSA was the guy that bought that.
Nat Turner. Yeah.
Yeah. So
He has a pretty nice collection.
Yeah. And the capital to spend $870,000 on a brick of old cards.